The sun shines brightly on the city of Los Angeles. In the middle of this seemingly idyllic landscape, there was a house where an extraordinary love story was about to unfold. A love story that would change the lives of those involved forever. In this house lived a young girl named Whitney, a 16-year-old high school student who had just moved from New York to Los Angeles. Her family's decision to move had been sudden and unexpected, and now she found herself in a strange new city without friends or familiar faces. The idea of starting over at a new school terrified her. On her first day at Northgate High School, Whitney felt a knot of anxiety in her stomach as she walked through the bustling corridors. It was a big school with hundreds of students. She didn't know anyone, and the unfamiliar faces around her made her feel even more out of place. Then there were the bookworms who spent most of their time in the library. There were the popular kids who seemed to know everyone and were always in the center of attention. As she looked around, she couldn't help but notice the different groups of students, each with their own unique style and demeanor. And then there were the athletes, the musicians, and all the other students who made up the rich tapestry of high school life. Among them, Whitney's eyes met those of a young man who stood out from the crowd. His name was Clover. From the moment she saw him, she felt a spark of attraction. He had a charming smile, a confident stride, and an air of mystery that intrigued her. Despite being nervous, she couldn't help but approach him and strike up a conversation. And soon, Whitney felt a connection with Clover that she had never experienced before. He was funny, intelligent, and kind. They studied together, played sports, and hung out with each other's friends. She learned that he was one of the most popular guys in school, but he was also humble and down to earth. He had a close group of friends, including a guy named Edward, who was just as funny and charismatic as Clover. Through Edward, Whitney met other members of Clover's friend group, and they all welcomed her as one of their own. She felt like she had finally found a place where she belonged. One day, while hanging out at the mall, Whitney noticed a beautiful necklace in a jewelry store. She admired it from afar, but knew that it was way out of her price range. Little did she know that Clover was watching her. He approached her and asked if she liked the necklace. When she admitted that she did, he surprised her by saying that he was going to buy it for her. She was shocked and touched by his generosity. She tried to refuse, but he insisted. When she finally agreed, he took her to the counter and paid for the necklace without hesitation. As Whitney walked away with her new necklace, she couldn't help but think about how lucky she was to have Clover in her life. He wasn't just good-looking and popular. He was also kind, generous, and thoughtful. She felt like she had won the lottery when she had met him. But little did she know that their relationship was about to take an unexpected turn. It turns out that Clover already had a girlfriend named Daniela, who was the cousin of the most popular guy in school. Despite being in a relationship, Clover continued to hang out with Whitney. They went to parties, played video games, and watched movies together. Whitney enjoyed spending time with him, but she couldn't help but wonder why he wasn't honest about his relationship with Daniela. She knew that something was off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Meanwhile, Daniela was suspicious of Clover's close relationship with Whitney. She had a feeling that something was going on between them, and she confronted Clover about it. He denied it, of course, but she didn't believe him. She started following him and Whitney, trying to catch them in the act. One day, she saw them holding hands at the mall, and she was furious. She confronted them, and that's when Clover finally admitted that he was seeing someone else. Daniela was devastated. She had been dating Clover for months, and she thought that they had something special. She couldn't believe that he would cheat on her with one of his best friends. She broke up with him and vowed to never speak to him again. Whitney was torn. She knew that she liked Clover, but she didn't want to be the reason for the breakup. She tried to distance herself from him, but he wouldn't let her. He told her that he was breaking up with Daniela because he realized that he had feelings for Whitney. He asked her to give him a chance, and she eventually agreed. As their relationship blossomed, Clover and Whitney grew closer than ever. They shared their dreams, their fears, and their love for each other. They knew that they were meant to be together, and they couldn't imagine their lives without each other. However, not everyone was happy about their relationship. Some of Clover's friends, including his best friend Edward, disapproved of the way he had treated Daniela. They felt that he had betrayed their friendship and hurt an innocent girl. They tried to talk some sense into him, but he wouldn't listen. He was in love with Whitney and he didn't care what anyone else thought. Despite the disapproval of some of Clover's friends, his relationship with Whitney continued to grow. They supported each other through thick and thin, and they knew that they had something special. However, their happiness was short-lived. One day, Whitney's parents announced that they were moving back to New York. She was devastated. She didn't want to leave Clover, but she had no choice. As the moving day approached, she and Clover spent more time together. They went to the beach, had picnics, and told each other how much they loved each other. When the day finally came, they were both heartbroken. They hugged each other goodbye and promised to never forget each other. Whitney and her family left California and moved back to New York. She was sad to say goodbye to Clover, but she knew that it was for the best. In New York, Whitney threw herself into her studies and spent time with her old friends. She tried to move on from Clover, but it wasn't easy. She missed him every day and wondered if he ever thought about her. Months went by and Whitney began to heal. She started dating again, but she couldn't help but compare her new boyfriends to Clover. She knew that he was the one that got away. Meanwhile, Clover was doing well in California. He graduated high school and started college. He missed Whitney too, but he knew that they were meant to be apart. He focused on his studies and his friends, and he eventually met someone new. One day, Whitney's family decided to take a vacation to California. She was excited to visit the beach and the amusement parks, but she was also nervous about seeing Clover again. She knew that it would bring back a lot of painful memories. However, when she saw him again, she realized that he had moved on. He was happy with his new girlfriend, and she didn't want to disrupt their relationship. She acted natural and polite, and no one would have known that she was the girl he had once loved. After the vacation, Whitney and her family returned to New York. She thought about Clover often, and she wondered how he was doing. She knew that he was living his best life, and she was happy for him. But she couldn't help but wonder if he ever thought about her. Years went by, and Whitney grew up. She became a successful businesswoman and traveled the world. She never forgot Clover, though she kept his memory in a special place in her heart. She knew that he had been the love of her life, and she wondered if he ever thought about her, too. One day, Whitney was scrolling through social media when she saw a post that made her stop in her tracks. It was a picture of Clover and his wife, and they looked happier than ever. She couldn't help but smile. She knew that he had found his happily ever after, and she was happy for him. But she also couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness. She knew that she would never forget the love they had shared, and she wondered if he ever thought about her. And then one day, out of the blue, Clover contacted Whitney. He explained that he had been thinking about her a lot lately, and he wanted to see how she was doing. They started chatting online, and soon they were catching up on all the years they had lost. Clover told her about his wife and kids, and Whitney told him about her travels and her work. They reminisced about their time together in California, and they both agreed that it had been the best time of their lives. As they chatted online, Clover and Whitney realized that their feelings for each other had only grown stronger with time. They decided to meet up, and when they saw each other again, it was like no time had passed at all. They spent the day talking and laughing, and they realized that they were still in love with each other. Clover and his wife had recently had a huge fight and had separated for a few months, so he decided to take a chance on Whitney and see where it would lead.
They started dating again, and it was like they had never been apart. They were madly in love, and they knew that they wanted to be together forever.
Soon, Clover and Whitney were spending all their time together. They went on romantic dates, traveled to exotic locations, and they just enjoyed being in love. Whitney knew that Clover was still married, but she didn't care. She loved him, and that's all that mattered to her. One day, Clover told Whitney that he had made a decision. He was going to divorce his wife and marry Whitney. He knew that it wouldn't be easy, but he was willing to do whatever it took to be with her. Whitney was overjoyed. She had waited years for this moment, and now her dreams were finally coming true. Clover and Whitney wasted no time in planning their future together.
They bought a beautiful house in California, and they filled it with love and laughter.
They also started planning their wedding, and they couldn't wait to exchange vows and start their life together. As the wedding day approached, Whitney couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. She knew that people would judge her for marrying a man who was still married to someone else. But she didn't care. She loved Clover, and that's all that mattered to her. The wedding was beautiful. Whitney looked stunning in her white dress, and Clover looked dashing in his suit. They exchanged vows. They danced, and they celebrated their love with their closest friends and family. After the wedding, Clover and Whitney embarked on their honeymoon. They traveled to Hawaii and stayed at a luxurious resort. They spent their days lounging by the pool, their night star gazing on the balcony of their villa. It was the perfect start to their married life. Back home, Whitney settled into her new life in California. She and Clover were madly in love, and they couldn't get enough of each other. They had a deep connection, and they knew that they had found something special. One day, Whitney was relaxing at home when she got a call from an unknown number. She hesitated, but then decided to answer. On the other end of the line was a woman's voice, and she introduced herself as Clover's ex. She told Whitney that she wanted to talk to her and get to know the woman who had stolen her husband away. Whitney was taken aback by the call, but she agreed to meet up. When Whitney and Clover's ex-wife met, they were both surprised to find that they had a lot in common. They talked for hours about their shared experiences and their love for Clover. The ex-wife explained that she and Clover had been having problems in their marriage for a long time, and she understood why he had left her. She also apologized for any pain she may have caused Whitney and assured her that she bore her no ill will. Whitney was relieved to hear this, and she knew that she had done nothing wrong. She had fallen in love with a man who was free to love whoever he wanted. She and Clover's ex-wife decided to become friends, and they supported each other through thick and thin.
They knew that they had each other's backs, and they were grateful for the bond they had formed. After meeting Clover's ex-wife, Whitney's worries about being judged by others completely vanished.
She knew that she had done nothing wrong, and she didn't care what anyone else thought of her. She and Clover were happy, and that's all that mattered to her. As the years passed, Clover and Whitney's love only grew stronger. They had ups and downs, of course, but they knew that they were meant to be together.
They had two beautiful children, a boy and a girl, and they were the perfect addition to their family.
Looking back on their journey, Whitney knew that it had been worth every second.
She had found the love of her life, and she knew that she was the luckiest woman in the world.
She and Clover had beaten the odds, and they had proven that true love could conquer all.
They had built a life together that they were proud of, and they knew that they had each other forever. And so, as the sun set over the horizon, casting long shadows over the city of angels,
Clover and Whitney sat on their porch, hand in hand, watching the sunset. They had come a long way to be together, but they wouldn't trade their love for the world. Their story was a testament to the power of true love, and they knew that they were truly blessed to have found each other. As the days went by, Whitney and Clover became inseparable.